In 2005, Dr. Rosado completed his MBA in healthcare. You have a lot of degrees, which is, wow, management from the University of Phoenix, and that was magna cum laude. Once back in Florida, he worked as the director of Communicable Disease Division, Epidemiology, and Immunization Departments, as well as the senior lead physician at St. John's County Health Department. I am going to just have you come up here, and that's outstanding stuff. I was just going to say what you're talking about. Baby boomers. Why this is the fastest growing demographic of medical cannabis users.
Yes. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. If not, I'll shut this down. As you already know, I'm from the Bronx, so I have a really big mouth. So I don't have a problem projecting. Anyway, before we get started, I want to ask you a question. From what year to what year are baby boomers considered? What are baby boomers? What's the definition of a baby boomer? From what year to what year? Born in
1947. 45 to 63. 47.
I'm hearing a lot of numbers, none of them are right. From
45.
9 months
said
after the
46?
Second World War ended.
Very good. 1946 until
60.
Who said 64? Excellent. So from 1946 to 1964, that's the definition of a baby boomer. I am one. I was born in 62. Is this my clicker? Excellent. All right. So this is the topic for today: baby boomers and medical cannabis. That's me. And I am the medical director at Coastal Wellness Centers, a solely medical cannabis clinic in northeast central Florida. It's between Orlando and Daytona Beach, just north of Daytona Beach, so on the Atlantic coast. And that's a little bit of what Ira said. From the age of 16 until present, that's been my trajectory in the medical profession. And in the medical cannabis space, I was an advocate before I was a physician, recommending cannabis, because in the state of Florida, we did not become legal until 2016. In 2014, when the announcements were hitting the airwaves about medical cannabis and Amendment 2, which was the decriminalization of medical cannabis, I began as on the Bureau of Speakers, promoting for the decriminalization of cannabis. But we did not have a law in the books until June of 2014, which was just for CBD. And it was a way to screw with the voters, because in November 2014, when we were voting for the decriminalization, the opposition said, there's already a law in the books for medical cannabis, and it was for CBD, for 4 diagnoses only: epilepsy, chronic conditions that cause seizures, chronic conditions that cause muscle spasms, and cancer. What was the challenge? We had no medicine. We had no LPs. We didn't have any medication until the summer of 2016. So for 2 years, yeah, we had a law in the books, but we had no product to give patients. As soon as we had product, I was the first in the state to recommend to a 15-year-old that had cancer of the head and neck, and the first in my area to recommend to an adult that had a stage 3 astrocytoma or a brain tumor. So this is what I've done in the medical cannabis space. I'm also the medical director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana, and on occasion for International Cannabis Solutions when Kevin and I are getting along. I also manage children, adults, and geriatrics. So, back to questions, because as a physician, I love to ask questions. That's what we live for. So, between 2013 and 2016, medical cannabis use among individuals born between 1946 and 1964, defined as baby boomers, has increased by, show of hands, 25%, 50%, 75%.
Sure, 25%. I'll go for that one.
US, sir. 100%. The correct answer is 75%. Close but no cigar. According to the media, these have been the headlines over the past year in the US. Baby boomers are the fastest growing marijuana users. More older Americans are turning to marijuana. Medical cannabis is replacing prescription drugs for Connecticut's middle-aged and elderly. And yesterday, in the New York Times, it read, or they had an article that read, older Americans are flocking towards medical marijuana. Now, New York Times has been accused of providing fake news by an individual. Who shall remain nameless?
Individual one. Yes, exactly. Individual one.
Nonetheless, it still is a reputable newspaper in the United States. In medical journals, it's indicating and showing that for those between the ages of 50 and 64, 58% they've shown a relative increase in the amount of medical cannabis or the use of cannabis between the ages of 50 and 64, and a 250% relative increase for those individuals above the age of 65. So it's moving in that direction. Another abstract from another medical journal shows that the greatest increase in marijuana use was observed among older adult population 50 and older and 65 and older. So everything above the age of 50, there's been a massive increase in the amount of medical cannabis use. Another abstract. Any epidemiologists in the crowd? Good, so I could butcher what the difference between incidence and prevalence is, right? No, prevalence is, an incidence is a new case or a new study. A prevalence is an existing. So there is a 9% prevalence between individuals between 50 and 64, and a 2.9% prevalence of individuals greater than 65 using cannabis in the study where they questioned 17,608 individuals above the age of 50 from 2015 to 2016. So all this to say that the numbers are increasing. The population is expanding. The question to you guys is why? Why is it that the baby boomers are moving in that direction and moving up? Answers. No wrong answers. Yes.
We used to smoke it.
Ma'am?
Because we used to smoke it when we were younger.
Exactly. So this experience from our youth. Yes.
Pharmaceutical drugs are too expensive and they have too many terrible side effects for most people who want to use them. And they combine several of them, so you've got all these horrible side effects, especially if you're critically ill. It's bad news.
Excellent. Another answer.
Pain.
Yeah.
Pain. Baby boomers, as we age, we tend to have more aches and pains. And we are avoiding or wanting to avoid the pharmaceutical racket. Yes? Yes, ma'am.
They're retired and don't need to worry about work.
They're retired and they don't need to worry about work. But remember that there's ratios out there that you can use and not have any euphoria and still be productive. So, although I agree with you, it's important to recognize that it's not always going to get you high. Yes?
Sleep and stress.
Sleep and stress. We're going to be touching on all these later. Any others? Yes?
Legalization.
The decriminalization in certain areas. Right now, the United States has, how many states are legal? 33. 33 states, one pseudo-territory, which is Washington, D.C., that doesn't count, even though it's the nation's capital, and 2 U.S. territories, Guam and Puerto Rico. Yes?
No one has died from medical cannabis, and thousands of people have died every year from pharmaceutical drugs.
We're going to talk about that later. Yes, sir?
We were all hippies, and we had to fight against Nixon before on
No one here was around in 34 with Hitler, right? But the real reason why is, ready? Because it fucking works. There, you got the Bronx out of me. That's it. It's downhill from now. Because it works. That's why it's going up. Because As baby boomers, we want to do stuff that works, and it works well. And the medical model does not work. But seriously, chronic pain, as has been mentioned, together with other comorbidities. What aging population does not have degenerative disc, herniated disc, osteoarthritis, failed neck and back surgeries, autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, etc.? Because cannabis works so well for every one of these conditions. In 2016, what was the percentage of people who misused prescription pain relievers in the US, and why? Any guesses? What percentage? 30%? 65%? Very close. 62.3% misused their pain medication. Why? Because it wasn't working for them. So if a little is good, a lot's got to be better. What happens when you misuse an opiate? You die. No addiction, you freaking die. Because your respiratory center shuts down and you forget to breathe. And when you forget to breathe and your heart center is right there, you die. Medical cannabis, and it works extremely well. That is the reason why we, as baby boomers, are utilizing it across both countries, yours and mine. Baby boomers are going to medical cannabis because it literally has minimal side effects, as has been mentioned already. Now, in the US, they love to throw a partisan thing. Oh, we're Republicans. Oh, we're Democrats. The liberals want to free the weed. As you can see, the governor of Georgia, Southern Belt, a Republican, included PTSD in the law. In New York, a Republican allows for the prescription of cannabis as an alternative to opiates, one of the few states. Also, New York, you asked about insurance earlier. New York is the only state in the US that covers medical cannabis visits by insurance companies. It's mandated. The only state. There's a second state that's in the process. What's the other state? Who said California? The insurance commissioner in the state of California is pushing for the coverage of insurances for the visits of medical cannabis. So it's already moving in that direction, okay? In Illinois, any individual, a Democrat, any individual that has a prescription for opiate can go into a dispensary and get cannabis. So it's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue. It is a human issue. And they're realizing that as human, this is what we need to be using, and for obvious, all of the reasons that we've mentioned already. Our aging population is discovering, as everyone in this room, the medical benefits of using cannabis. 4 out of 5 North Americans are in favor of doing what you guys did close to 20 years ago, which is to just make it medically legal in all 50 states and its territories. All we need is the individual that remains nameless to do what? To go ahead and say, remove it from Schedule 1. Was that champagne? All we need is for him or whomever come in and say, we're going to decriminalize it and make it Schedule 2, just like Obama did with gay marriage. It was legal at the state level, it was illegal at the federal level. And when Obama came up and said, you know what, it's legal in all 50 states and US territories, everyone was able to marry whomever they wanted to marry. Same thing with this. So, for those that are Americans in the audience, push for this, please. Now, this is a report done in 2017 in the US where they discovered some trends and demographics in the medical cannabis space in the area of baby boomers. And that's what we're going to be addressing now, which were topics that were already addressed with your responses. So you guys are extremely well versed Thank you for making my job so much easier. Population. The study consisted of 537 consumers, 73% were from legal states, 27% were from prohibited states. The age range. The workforce between 21 and 45 is presently the highest group of individuals that use cannabis. However, the baby boomers, as is mentioned, is the one that's growing in the direction, and eventually we will surpass that 21 to 45. It's just that more of us die than those between 21 and 45. So the numbers are, we're never going to be at 58%. Sex, yes or yes?
Yes. Yes.
Always yes. What? 47% female, 53% males in the study. And modes of administration preferences. In the article that I cited earlier today, in the New York article Time, they were talking about baby boomers using salves, oils, and tinctures. And this was about the same. The preference are concentrates and topicals, followed by edibles, pre-rolls, drops, and tinctures, followed by flowers and vaporizers. In the baby boomer population, because baby boomers are so accustomed to using and taking what? 40 to 50 prescription pills a day.
Wow.
Exactly. Say it louder. Say it louder.
Just smoke some cannabis, man.
But if you take into consideration my typical, when I was doing primary care, my typical patient, high blood pressure, they are usually on 2 to 3 blood pressure medications because they need a diuretic and either an ACE inhibitor or an ARB or a calcium channel blocker or a beta blocker. That's 5 medications I just rattled off, right? And most people are on those. They're a diabetic. Diabetics are on at least 3 medications, oral medications. That's 8. Okay? They also have cholesterol issues. That's at least 1 new medication. They all have anxiety. They all have depression. They all have pain. Do the math. Therefore, because they are accustomed to using capsules and pills, they tend to want to gravitate in that direction. Also, because of their belief system is, I used to be a smoker, I quit smoking, I don't want to consider smoking again, so they don't want to use the e-cigarette or the vaporizer. And so they're fearful of the fact that they may end up wanting to smoke again. So, now, the top 10 conditions and the motivators. Why are they using cannabis? And for what purpose? So top 10 conditions are the typical conditions that that population has. From 10 up, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, cancer, autoimmune lupus, fibromyalgia, arthritis, specifically osteoarthritis, seizures, epilepsy, chronic pain, and osteoporosis. Again, for the pain and also for the regeneration of the bone, because CBD has been shown that it can restore and replenish bone. And as far as their number 1 motivator, sleep. I forgot that one pill. They can't sleep. And what do insurance companies not want physicians in the U.S. to prescribe patients that have issues with insomnia? What do they not want us to prescribe to them? Anyone? Benzodiazepines or any type of sleep aid. So Lunesta or Ambien or lorazepam, anything. Why? For fear that the next day they'll be groggy or they'll get up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, slip and fall, break a hip, and in 6 months be dead. Or the amazing expense that the insurance company is going to incur. So for that reason, they are refusing to let us prescribe anything that will help them sleep. So the number 1 reason for the use is relaxation and sleep aid, followed by reduce stress and anxiety, which we touched upon, have more fun with friends, whatever that means, improve mood, increase creativity and expression. Now these next ones can be taken with a double entendre. Improve sex life, heighten the senses, and connect more with other people. So these are the motivation, but the main motivator, to relax and to get some sleep. Because if they're sleeping, they're rested, and if they're rested, they're getting better. Now, the top 10 strains. Any licensed producers in the audience, any LPs or growers? These have been the top 10 strains. Notice that the top 10 strains are, and these are, without getting into terpenes and terpenoids and everything else, understand that if they're still, in the US, are still practicing in thinking of strains, sativa, indica, hybrid. So 10% are requesting an indica, specifically the LAOG, which is primarily an indica. Tide, like hybrid, blackjack, which is a nice even combination. One of my favorites to recommend to patients, adults and pediatrics, Blue Dream. In kids, primarily because of the autism, it works really, really well for kids with autism or individuals with autism. Also, for PTSD. Yes, sir?
Sorry, are these numbers based on sales volume of rec or for medical cannabis?
Medical.
Medical.
Yes, sir. But remember, it's for the 500 plus people that were questioned in this study, and 73% were in legal states and 27% were in illegal states.
The only reason I was asking is a lot of these just seem like to have a lot of brand recognition behind the name.
That's
Well,
how,
like Blue Dream being a brand cannabis strain. I know, but people know that.
It has a specific effect.
yeah. Also understand that the oldest state in the U.S. is California, that was, became legal in 1996, 22 years ago.
So this is based on.
So a lot of the people are still thinking and focusing on the specific strain names and not so much what you are accustomed to, which is why I prefaced it at the beginning. Thank you for listening. Not. So, but again, understand that the majority of the strains are more hybrid-based, not so much the extremes, the indicas or the sativas, although the #1 seller was an indica for what reason? To help them with their sleep and their relaxation. So, in conclusion, baby boomers are experiencing a better quality of life by using medical cannabis. Medicare, which is the primary insurance carrier for, or third-party payer for individuals above the age of 65 in the US, have found that there's been a 14% drop in opiate prescriptions in states that are legal. And there has been a 20 to 25% decrease in opiate overdoses in states where cannabis is legal. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Give them a hand.
Yep.
Now this is the one that really gets to me. That the risks associated with cannabis are fewer than those associated with opiates, benzodiazepines, and alcohol. A lot of patients that have come to see me to get off of their medication and want to get on the cannabis, every one of them, and I say every one of them, in some way, shape, or form, do anywhere between 1 drink to half a bottle of bourbon a night to aid with their pain and aid with their sleep. Because right now, there's this whole fear of opiates and opiate abuse, and in the state of Florida, for example, there are 3 categories for me to be able to prescribe an opiate to an individual. I have to write on the prescription for acute use. That's 3 days worth of medication every 6 hours. I'm allowed an acute exemption where I can then extend the dose to 7 to 10 days. Anything beyond 10 days, I have to write in the prescription for non-acute, chronic, non-malignant pain. And only a pain management specialist can write for, or be in a certified pain management clinic, can write a prescription for more than 10 days. So now, all primary cares are sending their patients to pain management specialists, and the pain management specialists are so overwhelmed that they can't take these patients into the offices. So what do patients have to do? They take matters into their own hands. They either go to the black market, or, because they're afraid that they would lose what they have, they go to the local liquor store and buy a pint, buy a fifth, or buy a case, and off to the races they go. Yes, it is insane. Question time. Yes.
I've had two husbands with cancer. One had melanoma and the other had colon cancer, 20 years apart.
Hang on, let me pass the microphone to you.
One of the major issues that they had was constipation from all of the medicines that they took. And it's a real problem. It's very uncomfortable if you are already hurting from something else. You don't need that, okay? You don't need an extra pain, okay? And constipation is a really important one that I think people have to look after. And cannabis doesn't do that.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned New York and California in process of making insurance covering the prescriptions.
New York already covers
Already
it.
has.
California's in the process.
How many years it will take for all the states to be on that rate?
My crystal ball is broken right now.
No, but how long it took for opioids?
For opioids, that's a Schedule II drug.
But they've been covered by insurance from the beginning, right?
Of course.
So if marijuana considered a medication, theoretically they should be covered by insurance as well.
It's not considered medication, it's a Schedule I drug. And according to the definition of a Schedule I drug, it has no medicinal value. And it's equated to heroin and ecstasy.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
I will rephrase the question. For Canada, we are under federal, illegal. So how long do you think it will take here for insurance to cover the prescribed?
I'll defer that to Ira. How long before insurance, the question here for Canada specific, he wants to know when the insurance companies will cover for medical cannabis.
Insurance companies already are covering. There are a few that most of them do it through group insurance. So if you look at Sun Life, Manulife, Green Shield, you can the three big ones. You can probably get it if you're part of a group, if you have a group plan. But then there's a group that I work with, Evergreen Pacific Insurance Corporation, and we have a guaranteed product for anybody who wants cannabis. You can.
So basically, if I will contact my insurance company, tell them I have a group insurance,
No, in group insurance is like your employer. So if your employer includes it in their plan, then they'll get it.
Otherwise, I have to
But
buy
for very
separate.
specific conditions.
But otherwise, I have to buy separate policies.
You can buy a separate policy for it.
What's the name of you said, Green Shield?
Epic, Evergreen Pacific Insurance Corporation.
Evergreen
I'll tell you
Pacific.
later. You can come talk.
And we have another response.
So in Canada, when it comes to group insurance, some of the insurers now are covering, and Ira mentioned two of them, Sun Life and what was the other one? Manulife. But they are doing it as an evidence-based specific. So one will say it is evident that epilepsy can be used for cancer when it comes to pain management, nausea, and vomiting. And so each one of the group insurance have done that, and it's based on evidence. But I think what you'll find is the trend will be growing and more pressure will be growing, that the number of specific conditions will continue to grow as well.
Absolutely. The more the merrier.
Great, well, still on insurance, just because I've just done this. So 9 months ago when I set up my company, I was not able to get any medical cannabis coverage at all. Last month, Sun Life has given us full, as long as there's a medical prescription. They have not made it condition specific at all. They gave me 3 different options. It went through in 2 weeks. It actually was a huge process. It was great. So two of my
For the individuals that have the qualifying, because in the state of Florida we're limited to qualifying conditions. So the qualifying conditions, I can only recommend cannabis for those individuals that have those conditions. So those conditions include PTSD, HIV, AIDS, cancer, seizures/epilepsy, Crohn's disease, Lou Gehrig's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, cancer, or any condition that's equal to in severity or greater than the ones that I just mentioned. And so for those individuals that have any autoimmune condition or have immune issues or have cancer, I obviously encourage and recommend, you know, different types of diets to work and support what's going on, especially, you know, fruit, plant-based, to encourage the phytocannabinoids and, you know, all the terpenes that are found in all of the other plants that are out there. So obviously there is an incorporation, and it's a whole plant, it's a holistic approach, hence the name of the clinic, Wellness Center, because we are promoting and encouraging wellness.
And are there special considerations when you're working with cannabis, especially in a diet, like how to incorporate it, how to cook it? I know there's a lot of information out there, but is there actual clinical approaches to this, or?
Well, let me share a little secret with you about the state of Florida. There's no bud. They don't sell bud or flower. It's just concentrates. So individuals have become extremely creative with the use of the concentrates to make edibles and to cook for themselves. The law says that edibles are supposed to be allowed. However, the State Department of Health has not implemented the rules and regulations yet to the growers, to the LPs. So in the state of Florida, there are no edibles yet. So with the lack of flower and bud, a lot of individuals are shortchanged in their ability to be able to cook with it because it's not available. Now, are there ways around it? Absolutely. A few of the LPs have ground up flour, they put it in a cartridge, and that cartridge has to be used by one of the LPs vaporizers, and then they can vaporize the flour that way. And some people with a magic pair of pliers are able to pop the top of that cartridge and make butter and oils and things like that. But it has to be a special set, the magical pair of pliers to be able to pop that top. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if in this study or in any of the other studies, if you anecdotally, if any of the clients stated that they saw a positive or synergistic response to cannabis with their other medications?
Back in June, I presented in Toronto a case study on a female that was taking between 42 and 58 pills a day. And in 3 months, weaned her down to 2 pills a day with cannabis. Okay? And I'm in the process of getting that published. It's important to understand and recognize that when you are treating patients that are on multiple pharmacopoeia, that you understand how certain medications are metabolized in the liver, and then understand when to incorporate the cannabis and when to not incorporate the cannabis, and understand the modes of administration in the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, and understand that, you know, when you vape, how long it takes, and that it bypasses the liver, whereas when you take it orally, you have to deal with all the liver issues and everything else. So it's important to understand all of the concepts, but the biggest thing that I'm getting and hearing in my practice is that once they're on this, they're able to get off of all those poisons and are able to just rely on their cannabis. And just like was mentioned earlier, you know, now she doesn't even want to drink or doesn't even drink her glass of wine. So that's what patients are discovering once they get into the cannabis. Anyway, one more and then we'll let Ira come on.
Yeah, just something you didn't mention, I was just wondering, maybe in that study or also on your own clinical background, how much does price play an effect in there, as well as just knowledge gaps for preferences? Because I know you chose, or not chose, but in that study, there was a lot of the most commonly known strains were obviously in the biggest bracket. Is that just because of availability and price points, and how much does that affect people going to this? Because I know as well for capsules and oils and everything, it's very straightforward. You get an oil, there's not 16 different brands of that oil. There's sativa or indica, there's THC and CBD content. It's simple, it's easy. There's 100 million different kinds of strains and hybrids within those strains. So does that play a factor?
Again, I can speak to what's going on in Florida, and yes, price is a huge factor. One, insurance doesn't cover it. So if you come see me, they pay $250 US to see me on their initial visit. Follow-up visits are $125 US. What?
I get $77.
It's cash only. It's cash only. Cash is king. But that's the standard throughout the state. And there's 22 million people in the state of Florida. Okay, there are close to 200,000 individuals that are licensed to receive cannabis in the state of Florida. Now, what the cost is for an LP, 0.6 grams or 600 milligrams of THC at an 87 to 93% THC is $75 US. For 0.6 grams.
Is that in a substrate or is that in like a dabbable cannabis?
No dab.
No, I'm just wondering, so it's in a substrate, it's delivered in an olive oil or something.
An MCT, a medium chain triglyceride, yes.